And with that, we do welcome you inside this week opening edition of Big Ten Today, presented by Gatorade. I'm your host, Rick Pizzo. Happy to report I will have company soon. Paul Caponigri is here. Cappy and I spent the previous week in St. Paul with Michigan at the Frozen Four. Comes up short in the national semifinals. We'll look back a bit, but also look ahead to what's on tap for next season. And Trent Meacham is here, too. Old man Meacham probably getting ready with a pre-show nap. In the green room, we'll talk transfers, NBA draft decisions, and more. All that coming up in a little bit. But we begin with the WNBA draft, which is our show's big story. Caitlin Clark, without question, will be the #1 overall pick selected by the Indiana Fever. But you look at some of the mock drafts, a half dozen or more former Big Ten players set to move on to the next level and be WNBA professionals. The draft gets underway Monday night, right around 7:30 Eastern Time. And for much more on Monday night's WNBA draft, welcome in Megan McEwen. Megan, listen, Caitlin Clark is going to go first to the Indiana Fever. We know that's a fact. What we don't know is what the pro game will look like for someone who dominated at the college level. What will be her biggest challenge against other elite pros?
The biggest challenge Caitlin Clark's going to have at the next level is she is about to face some of the most elite defenses that she is ever going to see. Once you get to the WNBA, you have to step it up about 15 notches when it comes to the defensive side of the ball. And when you look at some of the on-ball defenders in the WNBA, I think of like a Natasha Cloud, certain players that are so committed and disruptive defensively. It's going to be completely different. The ball screen coverages defensively are different. There's going to be a lot smarter players guarding her. So she's going to have to figure out ways to still score and counteract not just the primary defender, but the secondary defender. Caitlin Clark is one of the smartest basketball players that we've seen so far at the college level. So I have no worries in my mind that she won't be able to make those adjustments, but it's going to be an adjustment regardless. The level of physicality is higher, the pace is faster. You're playing with pros. And so she's going to have a unique challenge on her hands, but nothing that she's not capable for and cannot handle.
Plenty of pressure on Caitlin off the court as well. A year ago, one Indiana Fever game was nationally televised. When it became clear that Clark would be going to Indiana, it was announced 36 of 40 games this year will be nationally televised. How do you think the impact that Caitlin will have on the pro game compares with the obvious impact she already had on the college game?
This is a great moment for the WNBA. He was already starting to climb as a league, and there's still so much interest in it. Over the course of the last couple of years, it's grown. I look at a team like the Las Vegas Aces, who won the WNBA last season, and they had to move to a bigger arena. Already had this plan for when the Fever come to town, because that's going to be one of the hottest tickets in Vegas. What's going to be unique about Caitlin Clark entering the WNBA is it opens up different markets that haven't had an opportunity to see Caitlin Clark play in person yet. Los Angeles, Seattle, Phoenix, some of these markets that have been able to maybe watch on TV, but now they're going to have an opportunity to buy a ticket and go see her play in person. It's going to be an awesome moment, and hopefully the WNBA can continue growing and capitalize upon this. But also keep in mind, there are so many other great WNBA players right now that are currently in the league that are in a better position when it comes to understanding the game and the WNBA and how it works in a full season than Caitlin Clark is, because she hasn't even had a chance to put on a WNBA uniform. That being said, going to be fascinating to see hopefully how this growth can sustain, but going into new markets is going to be a really interesting part of the piece of the puzzle.
I don't care what that ticket costs, Megan. We can say from firsthand experience, it is absolutely worth it. Now, Caitlin is not the only former Big Ten player expected to go early in the first round. J.C. Sheldon, widely considered a top 5 pick. A lot of folks believe former Ohio State guard fits really well with Dallas at that number 5 selection. What's her appeal in the WNBA?
J.C. Sheldon had WNBA scouts at every single Ohio State game I did in the month of February. They love her motor, her IQ, and her ability to defend. I think she's going to the Dallas Wings at number 5 because of her ability to shoot the three, in addition to all of those things. Dallas was the worst three-point shooting team in the WNBA last season at 31% as a unit. J.C. Sheldon brings in the three-point shooting ability, nearly 40% this season. She brings in that motor defensively. We all watched her countless times score automatically turn around, start pressing, be so disruptive on the ball. And she also has that IQ where she can play off the ball, but also play point guard. Her versatility makes her a very unique pick and somebody that's going to be very attractive to teams at the next level.
I think one of the most unique potential late first, early second round picks is Celeste Taylor, because outside of Big Ten coaches and those that really follow this league, she's not a name that jumps out as a household name or somebody who is really known nationally. And yet WNBA teams are kind of salivating over her potential, describing her as a hidden gem. Why?
Celeste Taylor is a hidden gem because she can defend at the highest level. 2 years ago, she was the ACC Defensive Player of the Year at Duke. This past season, she was the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year at Ohio State. Her ability to understand angles, stay in front of defenders, and be disruptive on the ball makes her very unique. And when you get to the WNBA, it's very similar to when you come from high school and enter your freshman year of college. You have to be able to defend at the next level. It's what's going to keep you on the floor. Now, Celeste Taylor can come in. She's ready to at least have those pieces defensively. She may not have a huge impact offensively, but whoever drafts her isn't going to need her to have an offensive impact. She is coming in solely to defend, and she'll continue to develop that offensive game within each program.
Over 10 points, over 4 rebounds per game. She can dish it out, more than 4 there. Obviously, the steals are a huge part of her game as well. I love what Jaz Shelley did, not just this past season, Megan, but throughout her entire Nebraska career. I think she burst onto the scene a little bit during the postseason tournament and her play in Minneapolis because she was absolutely phenomenal. How does the Aussie project as a WNBA pro?
The good news for Jaz Shelley is she was playing pro ball back when she was a teenager in Australia. So she understands the pace of play and the level of physicality that comes with playing at the next level. Jaz Shelley is an elite creator. She can take the ball, draw multiple defenders, and find the open teammate in traffic and quickly. She can also knock it down from 3. Her offensive game is well equipped to translate over to the next level, especially the way she can navigate in ball screen situations. Once you get to the WNBA, there is so much ball screen offense that's happening. You need to have a smart guard who understands how to read the defense and get their teammates in positions to score. That's exactly what Jaz Shelley brings to the table.
3 other Big Ten players widely projected to be chosen on Monday night, including Indiana's Sarah Scally, who also spent time in the Big Ten at Minnesota. Is it just that she can knock down threes at any point from any spot, or is there more to Scally's game that is appealing to the WNBA?
There are people who have lots of long careers and make a lot of money because they can knock down threes. And Sarah Scally is a three-point shooting specialist. That's going to be her greatest appeal to a team. And keep in mind, once a player gets drafted, it does not automatically mean that they have a roster spot. It means they have an opportunity to go to camp and compete to try to make the 12-woman roster at camp. Now, that being said, Sarah Scally, with her ability to not only knock down the 3, but she's added the ability to pump fake and take it on the floor as well. That's going to be huge at the next level. I'll be shocked if she doesn't get drafted, but it's going to be really difficult for her to make a team because I look at some of the defensive aspects that the pros really want at the next level.
Many folks said Caitlin Clark is unbelievable because she's doing what she's doing without another pro on her roster. Kate Martin may tend to disagree, and some of the mock draft experts out there disagree as well because they believe the glue will be a late selection in Monday night's draft. How much is her appeal, Megan, based on the fact that she doesn't do anything off the charts, but she does a little bit of everything extremely well?
Kate Martin is the type of player where you look at the stat sheet at the end of the game and you're like, oh, she had 7 rebounds and this many assists and this many points. Maybe that doesn't stick out to you, but she set amazing screens. She dove on the floor for loose balls. She took like 8 charges in a game. The little things that add up in the big way are really attractive to people. You don't necessarily go to the pros expecting to be an elite scorer. The truth of the matter is there are people there before you who have paid their dues, who are more equipped to score in the WNBA at a high level. Kate Martin would be a great player for a team to come in and just do all the little things, play a couple of minutes a game her rookie year, and do, setting the screens, getting rebounds, diving on the floor for loose balls. That's how she made her money at Iowa. That's how she can make her money in the WNBA.
It is really hard to make that money as a big. Indiana's Mackenzie Holmes leaves as the program's arguably best player ever, set all sorts of records, yet she's projected to go very late in this draft if she is chosen at all. I go back to Monica Sonano, Iowa's outstanding big who had trouble making a roster. Megan Gustafson has been on and off roster since winning Big Ten Player of the Year. Why is it so hard for players like Mackenzie Holmes to transition that skill in college and that dominance and have similar success at the WNBA level?
The WNBA has become so positionless. So post players have to be able to step out and knock down a 15-footer or a three-point shot. As a result, you see some of the back-to-the-back traditional post players in college that were so dominant not necessarily find spots on rosters in the WNBA. A lot of teams also want bigs that can come out and defend on the perimeter if need be. That's the reason why it's so difficult to get onto a roster. Mackenzie Holmes has some of the most sound footwork I have ever seen. She is so fundamental. She's dominant with her back to the basket. It's going to be interesting to see over the course of her pro career, can she develop more of a face-up game where she can knock down that 15-footer at a more consistent level, and it helps spread the floor for everybody else to have space to move on offense.
Megan, I guess the great news is we get to hear all these players chosen in the WNBA draft on Monday night. But sadly and selfishly, I guess for us, it means we don't get to see them in the Big Ten next season.
I know it's that. I'm wearing my WNBA hat in honor of the day because it's very exciting for everybody to potentially have the opportunity to hear their name called. But I tell you what, I have to give a shout out to this senior class because they have helped put Big Ten women's basketball on the map in some ways that we didn't even know were possible. So shout out to every single senior who made an impact this season throughout the Big Ten.
Well said, Megan. We truly appreciate the time. WNBA draft comes your way on Monday night. And with that, it is time for the Big Stat presented by Gatorade. Caitlin Clark will become the second #1 pick from the Big Ten. Janelle McCarville, the first and only to be chosen with the top overall pick, former Minnesota star, went #1 to Charlotte all the way back in 2005. 4 players have been chosen with the #2 overall selection, including most recently Diamond Miller just a year ago. And we'll head to the men's game next. Trent Meacham joins me as we assess the impact of new coaching hires and the always intriguing transfer portal. Plus, after another successful season comes up just short of the Natty, what's next for Big Ten hockey? Paul Caponigri has the answer when Big Ten Today rolls on.